So this is going to be a video that is definitely different from my normal format. It's not going to be as structured and it's not going to be as focused because our content material here is a bit short. Now, I've already made a huge video plus a 4-part series. I mean, the video is the 4-part series, but a huge hour-long video on all the best heroes in the entire game. I will link that below, and most of these heroes will probably be mentioned, not all of them. But I've gotten a lot of comments on my channel recently. I think this game has been picking up a little bit of momentum because there are tons of new players playing who don't have most of the best heroes in the game. As the title would suggest, I talk about that, and most of the best heroes in the game are frankly event. That's just how Save the World is. You got into the event people section here, and this is where you're going to find all of your top choices, really. I mean, look at the historic heroes. These are like my top picks for using your vouchers, and they're all locked behind an event that's not currently active. So what I thought I'd do today is talk about all of the best heroes in the game. Now, I mentioned I have less content here because in the past I covered all of the best hero classes individually, but since we don't really have a ton of heroes when we just narrow it down to the base game, I'll only be talking about the base game heroes and the expansion people, which are effectively base game, meaning you could go to any of these expansion heroes and just recruit them right now. Obviously, that's expensive. That's a lot of manuals. That's a lot of flux. I know that you're not going to want to do that as much, but it is something you can work towards, and it's infinitely cheaper than a hero voucher, seeing as hero vouchers cannot be reobtained. So if you have a voucher, I have a whole video on how to spend those in the description below, but this is more of a way for how the game was meant to be played. Like, vouchers were just kind of an extra thing they added when they reworked every hero, just so you could, undo some of the events that you'd missed. But this is kind of more towards how I think Epic intended the game to be played. So something to address kind of early before we get too far into it is the fact that you can use any of these heroes at any rarity. As your commander, I'd recommend going for legendary heroes because buffing your commander as much as possible is super nice, but you really only get about 8% of the stats of your support members, so they can be a purple variant. That's fine. They don't need to be gold. They don't need to be leveled up very high. If you have Sergeant Jonesy in your support, he's going to buff it by 5 seconds no matter what level he is. Right off the bat, you're going to see a lot of Warcry related heroes. The energy cost and Colonel Wildcat, she actually expands the duration of the Warcry, and then I think Banshee also increases the damage of the Warcry. Banshee is extremely useful on the Mythic Storm King. If you don't have Special Forces Banshee, you should absolutely get her. In fact, for those of you who don't know, she is the reskinned version of the bot heroes. So Special Forces Jonesy is exactly the same as Special Forces Banshee, as well as Special Forces Ramirez. They all have the exact same bonus. That's something that you'll see with a lot of the heroes we'll bring up today, is that all of the 4 hero classes that you can get, there are 8 available heroes that you can purchase with the upgraded versions of the game. They're all reskins of heroes that already exist. So you don't need to buy the game for Special Forces Ramirez or Jonesy, because Banshee, that you can get from the collection book right now, will buff your weapon damage by 25%. So if you're ever getting a Storm King carry, I sometimes do Storm King help streams. If you run Banshee with us, that'd be great, because it's a very, very useful thing to have. Now, Sergeant Jonesy is more for the going commando stuff. He's really, really good at buffing the duration of the minigun. He is the reskin of the, well, it's kind of reversed because she's the reskin of him, but the birthday chick is the reskin of him. It's just the exact same thing, going commando by 5 and 20, and you'll see that he is exactly the same at 5 and 20. I wish I could show all of this a lot easier, you guys. I'm sorry, but that's it. If you want to have a commando build with your buffing your minigun as far as possible, link below. I've covered the minigun as well. That's a very, very fun way to play right now, and he is a super useful part of that build. Now, obviously, Commando Spitfire is another hugely useful thing to have in terms of going commando builds. In fact, I would say that if you're running a going commando build, the only option that you have in a lead is Commando Spitfire. Not to mention the other option, which I also covered in my video below. He is effectively the only way to lower your cooldown as far as possible, and without Commando Spitfire, you basically can't minimize your minigun. So he is an extremely useful hero who so happens to be base game, and I don't think that there's another hero that does what he does, except for the Twitch Prime sub Commando Jonesy, which I immediately realized after I said that. If you have this super old school Twitch Prime guy, he is a pretty good way to flex on other people, because I'm pretty sure he hasn't been re-released, so, or depending on who you talk to, this very well might be one of the rarest heroes in the entire game. Alongside the birthday chick, which I kind of just glossed over, I don't think she ever released again either, which is kind of why they reskin them, because you don't want a hero that released for 1 week 2 years ago to be anything special, because anybody who missed that event is going to be really, really upset by that. So Obviously, you can use Commando Spitfire, but if you want to flex a little bit or just see a different skin, then you can obviously use the old Twitch Prime guy if you have him. Now, I'm recording a bit of a bonus clip right here because as it so happens, I moved on from the Twitch Prime Jonesy guy right on to Rescue Trooper Ramirez, who I always forget this until somebody mentions it in the comments, also has a Twitch Prime doppelganger. So, same thing as Jonesy. If you had Havoc in the brief period where Twitch Prime of 2017, was it 2018 when this guy came out? Something like that. He actually has the exact same assault and SMG damage buff as Rescue Trooper Ramirez. So as you can see, they are just identical. They have the exact same bonus. So he's kind of a fun option if you want to use something other than Rescue Trooper Ramirez. Now the next one is something that I'm sure a lot of my regular viewers are kind of looking forward to because I've been getting made fun of in my own streams for this because I use Rescue Trooper Ramirez way more than any other hero in the entire game. I like FPS games. That's what I grew up on. I play a lot of FPS shooters, or at least I did when I was a kid, and I really, really like buffing my assault damage. And so I use Rescue Trooper Ramirez all the time. She is, as I would put it, probably my default hero. I like soldiers. That's how I am. She is also mathematically identical to Sledgehammer, who is the guy that gives you this 225% crit bonus. I'll put that math on the screen real quick. I'm not going to get into that argument in today's video because a lot of people like to fight me on that, but she is, in a conventional build, the same overall damage per second, and if I'm going to say, you guys know what I'm talking about, just kind of the better view in general, so I prefer to use female characters just because I don't like being this dude. I don't like this guy very much, but he is also a super comparable option. However, he is locked behind an event that hasn't re-released since the Birthday Llamas, so seeing as he hasn't been released, if you don't have him available to you, then there's really no debate at all. Rescue Trooper Ramirez is, in terms of buffing your weapon damage, your best choice in the game. Now, obviously, totally rocking out is a different thing altogether. That's a whole team perk that totally revolves around buffing your weapon damage even further. If you are using totally rocking out, you're going to want that crit bonus, but Rescue Trooper Ramirez is, in my opinion, or in all the research that I'm aware of, kind of one of the best options if you don't have that crit bonus. So that being said, she is absolutely something worth having. Even if you prefer to run Sledgehammer in the lead, put her in the support. I mean, that's 17% assault damage is going to go a long way, and it's kind of awesome that such a powerful hero is, in fact, base game. Now, Urban Assault Headhunter is the kind of hero that just kind of gets glossed over. I mentioned her in my soldier video, but that headshot damage is, it's tough to force because enemies turn around, smashers sometimes, they turn their back, etc., and you really can't even hit a headshot, and buffing fire rate is kind of a false way to buff damage per second because you're buffing your damage per second by shooting more bullets. You're not actually buffing your damage, you're buffing your rate of fire. So she effectively does, literally, I did the math in my soldier video, almost identically the same damage as Rescue Trooper Ramirez, except that she does it through fire rate, and Rescue Trooper Ramirez does it through buffing your weapon damage. So I wouldn't ever recommend using Urban Assault Headhunter unless you had no other options, which is kind of what this video is for. So if you have her, use her, great choice. Shock Trooper Renegade is a guy that I don't even know what he does. Shockwave cooldown. I'll link my Shockwave video in the description below. If you're building a Shockwave build, he's great to have. Nothing more to say there. Survivalist Jonesy is actually one of the cornerstone heroes of the entire game. I always recommend coconuts above all else because they are factually the best healing method in the game. However, they are locked behind, I think, the Blackbeard's crew. You guys have no idea how long I was looking for this guy. He buffs your health and damage, and coconuts are amazing, but this is not an event that may be out in the game right now. Obviously, if you're watching this in the future, he might be, but for the other, 51 weeks of the year, if he's not in the event section, you just can't get Crossbones Barrett. So if you don't have him, Survivalist Jonesy is a fantastic way to heal passively. And that 39 base health is pretty significant in the lower levels. And if you're not using Blast from the Past, that's actually a meaningful amount of health. So if you have, if you're trying to scrape together a decent build with literally anything, like any kind of eliminations buff your health, I think including traps, you can correct me if I'm wrong, it's just a great, great hero to have. Like I said, I mentioned coconuts, but even I put Survivalist in from time to time if coconuts aren't a viable option in the loadout provided. So Survivalist Jonesy, definitely a good one to look out for. Oh, and Birthday Brigade Jonesy also has the same bonus. He was from the year 2 birthday event as opposed to the year 1. Master Grenadier, her fall from grace, obviously is our first mythic hero that we're talking about today, so cool customer is, I don't know, I mean, I'm not even going to talk about it, literally. Like, if anybody knows enough about this for it to be useful, let me know, but I've never even like when Stay Frosty is active, it reduces cooldowns. That's not anything I've ever found a use for, so maybe I'll regret skipping over it, but yeah, there's not much to say. She buffs frag radius, so if you're making a grenade loadout, link below, then she is seriously something you're going to want, because that frag radius bonus is awesome. It just makes your grenades more effective. And now we get on to the campaign soldiers, which everybody in the game should have, so we're going to be quick. Archetype Havoc basically buffs you for less movement speed than the Baron can give you after a shockwave. He's kind of a nice alternative. I mentioned him in my video. Buckshot Raptor is one of the best shotgun heroes in the game, and kind of the absolute inverse to what I recommended with Rescue Trooper Ramirez. He is the 225% crit damage, which everybody can get, whereas the 50% damage Doppelganger, I think, is over in the... Oh, I'm going to have to find her. Oh God. All right, I found her. I've been trekking through the collection book all this time, over in the expansion schematics. So she used to be unavailable, but same as, expansion schematics are, you can actually pull her out of the book right now with the exact same cost as everything else. And once again, I prefer the female characters. It's the exact same argument as Rescue Trooper and Sledgehammer. Shrapnel, Headhunter, and Buckshot are a great combo in whichever one you use in the lead. It doesn't seriously matter, although shotguns with their slower fire rate, I have a shotgun loadout description below where I cover all of this much more specifically. I don't want this video to run on too long. You can use either in the lead. It doesn't matter to me. They are both available through the collection book, and if you're running a shotgun loadout, very, very awesome. And then, of course, Lightshow Spitfire is... I'm seeing this trend a lot where the base game heroes are almost always just sort of like a weaker version of something an event added. That 30% mag size applies to the base mag size of a weapon, and because of that, you get some really, really weird examples. You can see that if I take off Assault Ammo Recovery, which I'll do for now just for demonstration, put on Lightshow Spitfire, you will see that my 400 mag size Mercury LMG goes up to 430. You'll note, you don't need to be a mathematician for this, but I'll lay it out for you here. 30 is not 30% of 400. It's actually 30% of 100, which is the base mag size of the Mercury LMG. So he comes in before all the mag size perks. And the reason I mentioned Stars and Stripes Jonesy is because he buffs your mag size after that bonus. And it's kind of weird how he does that. He just lets you save ammo, and that, obviously increases the mag size because you don't actually shoot the bullet, and it's a super, super effective perk. Whereas on the Mercury LMG, it's an extreme example. Instead of giving you 30 bullets, it's closer to like 124, which is a huge amount of extra shots to have in your mag size, and it's a really, really appreciated hero to have. So that brings us lastly to Steel Wool Carlos, and each elimination during Warcry extends its duration. So if you're building a Warcry build and you're using one of those Happy Holiday loadouts, I haven't quite covered that yet on my channel. If I do that in the future, I'll link it below. He's just a great one to have. Every kill you get just buffs your Warcry by a little bit. Awesome deal. So if you're running Warcry, he's definitely nice to have. And then, of course, he gives you the... does he not give you a team perk? Oh, boy. Well, anyway. If I'll find his team perk, throw it on the screen if he has one. And all mythics come with a team perk, so you kind of want to look out for that. But as I'm recording this midway through, I am 14.5 minutes into this recording. And if I cut out little mistakes and whatnot, we're probably still going to be into the 12 and 13 minute range. And I haven't even gotten into the expansion heroes. So midway through this recording, I think I'm gonna go ahead and probably make this a 5-part series. Frankly, I'm kind of eating my shoe here because I didn't think I'd have too much to talk about here, but even cutting myself off, we're past the 15-minute mark, and here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna talk about soldiers today, constructors, ninjas, outlanders, and then the expansion people will probably all be their own video, even though that might turn into a multi-part series because there's not too much here, but there's still something to talk about, and I really don't want to do it. I really don't want to do them dirty by cutting that video short. So I hope you guys enjoyed this part 1. I'll move on to the constructors, ninjas, outlanders, and then as I did before, the best heroes in the game. I'll probably stitch this into one mega cut so you guys can see it all in one go. And as for now, that's going to be it for me, you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed, and stay tuned to the next one.